We're now going to look at a paragraph and analyze it for coherence. This is a paragraph that we had looked at before, but this time we're going to analyze it for the issue of coherence specifically. I had a terrible day at work yesterday, a day which has caused me to rethink my professional goals. When I came into the office, my supervisor told me something. I had checked my calendar to see what appointments I had. I had done this the day before at 4:45. Nonetheless, my supervisor told me something that the next day I had missed a meeting with the project manager. I didn't know about this meeting. I was upset. The meeting was scheduled after I left the previous day. Well, this is the first incident that the person is describing of this particular bad day, and it's all in a jumble. We can't tell what happened first. It's very difficult to figure out what happened first, how the person missed this meeting. It really looks like this was written in a hurry. This paragraph looks like this was written in a hurry. Continuing, the president of the company was frowning at me. Well, it sounds like the person's going to another point here, but there's no transition given to indicate that. My pants were unzipped. When I emailed him, other members of my department came by to tell me it was okay. Well, first of all, you emailed him about what? And it was okay. What was okay? I went to the printer at 4 in the afternoon. What? Is this related to the pants being unzipped, or is this another incident? We don't know. It jams sometimes. I had to pick up a printout and notice that the printer had jammed. Well, we're kind of being awkward here, saying it jams sometimes and then saying it was jamming now. I jerked it. Before this, I looked around to see what the problem was. Why is the person talking about something and then talking about something that happened before this? Using chronological or time order is much more effective. Everybody got mad at me. The technician was called, but he couldn't come until Monday. Well, did I call him? Did somebody else call him? What was the situation? The secretary gave me this dirty look. I was not happy. Glad to leave the office that day. I may go into construction. Well, glad to leave the office that day is really not a sentence, and I may go into construction doesn't relate to the topic at all because it's not linked at all to what was said at the beginning of the paragraph. On the other hand, take a look at a well-developed, a nicely organized paragraph on the same topic. We're going to take a look at this paragraph again, only this time with proper coherence. This is, of course, a piece of writing we looked at in a previous lecture, but we're looking at it again to contrast it to the poorly constructed paragraph we looked at a moment ago. I had a terrible day at work yesterday, a day which has caused me to rethink my professional goals. First, when I came to the office, my supervisor told me that I had missed a meeting with our project manager. I responded that I had no idea of this meeting. However, my supervisor pointed to it on the electronic calendar. So we have chronological events happening in time order and being described in time order. Unfortunately, the meeting cannot be posted on my electronic calendar until the previous day at 4:45 p.m., a point that I made to my supervisor. Nonetheless, she informed me that it was my duty to check my electronic calendar from home before coming to work so that I can make sure I know what appointments may have been made for that day. I was embarrassed to receive this correction. It's very easy to read this situation and find out what happened, not to have to read into the situation to figure out what happened first and what happened second and what happened third. And there's a nice concluding statement, I was embarrassed to receive this correction. It summarizes the point the writer's trying to make, that this was a bad day. Later, nice transition word, when I went to lunch with 2 other colleagues, the president of the company saw us on the elevator. I noticed him frowning at me. When I got off the elevator a minute later, I noticed that my pants were unzipped. So here we have a proper time-ordered description of the event that happened. I was extremely embarrassed. I decided to email him later that day to apologize for my unprofessional manner of dress. So we have a clear description of the second embarrassing incident. Unfortunately, there's another transition word to transition to our third point. I inadvertently emailed our whole department in my apology. Several members came to my office later forgiving me for leaving my pants unzipped. Well, now we clearly understand why the members of the office were coming to this person's office to forgive him, so to speak. The previous paragraph didn't indicate that at all. It was a very awkwardly worded paragraph. My level of shame was at an all-time high by now, and then we have a transition into the fourth incident. Just as I thought the day's antics would end, I went to the printer at 4 in the afternoon to pick up a printout and noticed that the printer had jammed. I looked around the machine and noticed a slot head that seemed removable. I jerked on it and heard plastic cracking. Then I observed a black handle fall to the floor. The printer would not function. So the incident is described again in chronological or time order so that it's easy to follow, easy to understand what happened first, second, and third. The secretary immediately turned around and winced. So we have words like immediately and to indicate a sense of time order as well. She reminded me that paper jams were to be dealt with by her, so we have an explanation for why the secretary was angry. She then picked up the phone and called the printer technician, who told her he would not be able to come to fix the printer until the following week. This is a much better description of the situation than the previous paragraph had exhibited. We see that the secretary is calling the printer technician, and he's unable to come until this time. 3 people in the office then glared at me, wordlessly expressing their discontent at my sabotaging of the printer process in our office. So we see that the secretary and 3 other people indicated their dismay at this person. In conclusion, I was glad to leave the office that day. In addition, I have considered changing fields and going into construction work. In that line of work, one does not deal with meetings, formalities of dress, or printer mishaps. What's nice about this conclusion is that it refers back to the first sentence of the paragraph, in which the person said that this terrible day was a day that was making the person rethink the professional goals. We have a much more effectively written paragraph in this case. The coherence is clear, and therefore the logic of the paragraph is neater, and the paragraph is easier to follow. Let's take a look at this paragraph on digital photography and analyze it for coherence. Digital photography has cut into the market share of conventional photography studios very significantly. Photo printers are not as expensive as they used to be. Technology has gotten better. When I take photos with a conventional camera, I often find some bad prints. This is after I get them back from the developer. I can delete the pictures on a digital camera. Film is expensive too. Therefore, digital photography is becoming more popular. This paragraph is extremely confusing. We can see where the writer alludes to certain reasons why digital photography is taking over the market, but the reasons are not given in any logical order, very difficult to follow. On the other hand, look at a nicely constructed paragraph on the same topic. Digital photography has cut into the market share of conventional photography studios very significantly for a number of reasons. First, taking pictures is cheaper. Digital photography eliminates the need for film, saving the consumer money in 2 ways, on the investment in film and on wasted film. A digital camera allows one to delete bad photos, so you don't waste prints. That is the first reason why taking pictures is cheaper. Furthermore, not only is taking pictures cheaper, but printing pictures is also cheaper. So we have a clear distinction. The taking of the pictures and the printing of the pictures offer 2 advantages. With photo printers becoming a household item, even digital camera users who want prints of their photos are finding it less desirable to take their digital files to a developer to process and to print. With a moderate investment, one can take digital shots, connect the camera or a computer to the printer, and produce 4x6-inch glossy photos in the convenience of one's own home. So we have 2 nicely constructed examples of why digital photography is taking over conventional photography and taking over, dominating the market. The previous paragraph did not allow this type of clear analysis, and it was difficult to follow the writer's train of thought. Again, don't make your reader work. When you write a paragraph, have a logical train of thought. If you're giving a cause and effect analysis, use proper transitions and support to illustrate that analysis clearly. If you're going to give an example, give specific examples. If you're going to tell a story in chronological order or time order, make sure that your description of events occurs in time order, and you use proper transition words to indicate the time order. Hopefully this has shown you how coherence is important in paragraph development.